Today's story, it's about when my dad was a real young buck, like 10 to 15 years old. The town my family's from, I'm not gonna dox myself too much here, but all you need to know is it's on the coast of the Baltic Sea. The part that my family's from used to be part of Germany. Was Poland, was Germany, was Poland, was Germany. You know the spiel, right? You know, the way that the area was cut apart has changed like so many times. It doesn't matter. The town was at one point in time Germany. Near the town my family's from, Goebbels' summer home. So yeah, Joseph Goebbels' summer home was actually there. And you can find the ruins of where it is to this day and visit it. Actually, a lot of people go there to fuck, which is pretty funny. So like I said, the story takes place when my dad was roughly 12 or 15. Most of the town at this time was primarily Polish people. There were the Germans that did live there, they kind of went back to Germany after the borders got changed. Nearest main city is like 2 hours away from Berlin, 2 to 3 hours. My family's town is roughly a couple hours away from that city. That city is called Szczecin. Szczecin's like a couple hours away from Berlin. So yeah, we're basically on like the edge of the German border. At the time, there weren't many Germans left. Most of them went back, or they kind of stayed, but then just like identified themselves as Polish. It's like a weird identity thing for the Germans that still resided in that area. But my dad and his friends used to go to this one guy's place that was in the town who was 100% German. He spoke some Polish, but he was this dude that like kept to himself for the most part, didn't really interact with a lot of the people in the town, very like isolationist kind of guy. But apparently he was very nice and never got married, never had kids of his own supposedly, but he just had this like small house and just like kept to himself. But he had this massive property in terms of land. So my dad and his friends, when they were real young, they used to play like army and like soldiers or whatever, or like crime and robbers on this land, right? So most of the time the guy would like give them drinks or whatever, like lemonade, soda, doesn't really matter, right? He was just like a cool dude and he let the kids do whatever they wanted, right? Apparently there was no creepiness with him. He was just chill. He was like, yeah, you guys can do whatever you want, and he just left them alone. He was just like, anytime you want, you guys can play in my area. One time, though, apparently, when they were playing soldiers, one of my father's childhood friends, like as a joke, started kicking him on the ground. Kind of like, he was like a prisoner of war or whatever. And this German dude came like sprinting out of the house and like grabbed my dad's friend's arm, like sternly. And he was like, don't ever kick someone when they're down. Don't ever treat another human like that again. Like, that's not acceptable. So, like, they were kind of like, oh, shit. And then they, they're kind of spooked, so they stopped showing up for a bit. But eventually they got comfortable again and kept doing that. And that continued for, like, a couple of years. But eventually, when my dad was kind of at the working age, he was looking to make a quick buck, to get, like, beers maybe, or like cigarettes or whatever. I mean, people in Poland drink early, like 14 years old, people smoke or drink, whatever. And the town's pretty small. I mean, it's a little bit bigger now, but it was very small at the time, so there really wasn't much work. Like, you had to go outside of town to get work. So my dad was kind of like looking around, asking, it's like, if anyone has any like jobs I can do, like groundskeeping, because any kind of like thing, right? Because my dad was good with his hands. Someone told him actually that the German guy that he used to play on his property, he's actually looking for someone to help him do maintenance around the house and kind of like tend to the yard, right? So my dad's like, oh, okay, sick, I actually know the guy. So my dad visits him, they talk a bit about it, and he's like, yeah, like definitely I'll pay you whatever's what it is. Just like come here whenever you can after school, and I'll get you to work on some stuff. So my dad was like, sweet. So that's what he did. He would go after class, jump the fence, and then for a couple hours he would help with like the flowers, cutting the grass, cleaning the shingles, cleaning the ducts, just anything that this old timer German dude was needing help with, my dad was like, take care of it. My dad said one of the things that was weirdest about his house is the guy had like no pictures of family or anything. It was like totally blank. He just had like clean furniture, all wooden furniture, no paintings, like no decoration whatsoever. Like there's just nothing. The guy had like, they had like some old tea set or like some old glasses from like maybe Germany, like, but nothing like significant. Like it felt like, he said it felt like an IKEA showroom, but obviously this was the 60s, so it was like, like, what is this, right? The guy was like, whenever my dad was doing work inside the house, the guy was like not watching my father, but he was very much like aware of where my father was like tinkering or where he was cleaning. The guy never explicitly said don't go to certain places in the house, but my dad got the vibe that if he would try to go towards the attic or the basement, you could hear like the German dude like walking fast towards him. So then he would immediately just like not go near those places because he just expected that the German guy was going to say something like don't go to the basement or whatever, even though that never ended up happening. Later on, when my dad was doing this work for the guy, some rumors started floating around the town where like, for the most part, people didn't really care. Like, it wasn't uncommon for German people of German descent to live in the surrounding area / the town. But those people had families. Like, those people had like some connection back to Germany or like some, there was like some kind of history about them. But this guy had like nothing. People started asking questions like, okay, so we know he's German, obviously. He said he's from like Berlin or Frankfurt, like one of these places, but like, he never has family visit. Anytime it comes up, he just doesn't really talk about it. He's just kind of like, oh, like a lot of people died because of the war and blah, 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 which, sure, yeah, okay. But still, people are kind of like, why? This guy's lived in our town for like 10 plus years, maybe more, and like we never see him around. He's like, he's like a huge shut-in, but he's not like a drunken hermit, because that was a common thing in the town. Was in Poland, drunkards, like drunk homeless people, were called menels, right? And they're usually people that would be like this old guy, just like these hermits who just drink themselves to death. They start having theories. They're like, okay, why does this guy have no history? Why does this guy have no family? Like, what's going on here? Like, what's the, so some of the old timers at the bar go up to my dad. We know you work for, I don't remember, my dad doesn't remember the guy's name too well, but let's just say his name was JavaScript. We know you work for JavaScript. Is there like any way you can like just kind of figure out, do you know like anything about him? And my dad said, well, he's very private, but I'll try to see what I can do. And they also asked, like, maybe ask him to come out. We'll do like a barbecue in the town square, like just so we can interact with people, right? Because no one really sees him. So yeah, that's what my dad tries to do. He's like talking to the guy pays him once a week, right? So my dad goes like, oh, JavaScript, like they actually want to organize like a town barbecue. You should come. And he's like, oh, I don't know, I can't, like it's tough for me to like move already, like I'm very old, like I just, my Polish isn't that good, I don't want to really like embarrass myself. Dad talks him into it, and the guy, nervously is like, okay, I'll go. So my dad goes with him to when the barbecue happens. Yet the guy's just like a total weirdo the whole time, because people keep asking about his like, lineage, like, oh, like where in Germany are you from? Or like how, like what brought you here and blah, blah, blah. And then the guy just kept talking about, oh, the war and everyone died. I had no family. I had nobody. So I might as well have just like come here. And people, because usually the thing is, to keep this in mind, people usually come back to the town my family's from because they had German ancestors that lived there before. 9 times out of 10. Germans typically did not come back unless there was a good reason to, right? Like, it's a beautiful area, but like there are areas right on the sea in Germany that like most Germans would rather be in, because it's their people, right? So it was very weird for this dude to prefer living amongst Polish people as a German, considering that like there was still quite a bit of animosity towards Germans from Polish people, because this was not that long after World War II. Anyway, they kept trying to like prod at him, and he got like really frustrated to the point where he just left early, and he said, I'll see my dad later. The week after that happens, my dad goes back to the guy's house, presumably to do more work, and the dude's nowhere to be seen. Like, my dad's knocking on the windows and everything. There's nothing. Like, it looks like he looks through the windows, it looks like no one has been there for like a couple of days. So some more time goes by. My dad's kind of pissed because he's like, this is my money. This is my money making thing. The guy's gone now. I don't really have any paper. But my dad just kind of dealing with it because more opportunities started showing up in the neighboring towns. So my dad was looking into becoming a seaman. And eventually, when he did find a job, he kind of went away for a bit, then came back. And when he came back, you know, he's having beers with the family and dinner. And then he asked, he's like, oh, like, whatever happened to JavaScript, you know? Like, I remember I was trying to see where it was, and he was just gone for a couple of days, and that was it. That's when he found out that JavaScript came back. This was like months later, right? So JavaScript ended up coming back. He just went full hermit, didn't talk to anyone ever again. Like, when he'd go to the stores, he would rush back home, and eventually he died, actually. When he died, the town my family's from did not have a morgue, but the town next, like 20 minutes away, did. So they had no choice, they took him there. Like, okay, well, we'll take him to that morgue, I guess, and just figure this shit out. Or not figure, you know what I mean? They did the shit. You know, the formaldehyde and like whatever, cut up the body and like smoke it or whatever they do. And it turned out when they did that, they discovered a tattoo on him. And for those who know, people that were part of the SS had a tattoo on their hand. I believe it's on their hand. So I think it's sometimes on the ankles, but it usually is on the hand or like in some spot where it was like very obvious that they belonged to the SS. When that happened, immediately people in the town were like, oh, okay. He had no next of kin, supposedly. Like they couldn't find any really paperwork on him. So the only theory that everyone had was that he for sure was SS. He somehow evaded any of the kind of like Interpol laws or whatever they call it. It's not Interpol, but you know what I mean. Like I'm sure there was a hunt for him in Germany, right? And I guess his best option was to just go into hiding in the town my family's from and just like low profile as much as possible. And it must have worked perfectly because no one suspected a thing. They just were like, oh, it's a German guy. Like he just didn't have the framing on him. So when he died, again, there was no next of kin. So like government employees eventually had to come in and, okay, well, I guess we'll just sell the house because like what else are they going to do? So they did an auction for the house. And eventually some guy in a neighboring town bought the house and, you know, went through the basement, went through the attic. And yeah, as sure as shit, the guy had his old SS uniform preserved perfectly, folded in a crate. He had a bunch of firearms, like Kar 98 AKs, pistols, all kinds of stuff. And that's like not even that crazy because in the town my family's from, if you do metal detecting, which is illegal over there, but if you do it, you can find guns, grenades, mines. Like there's stories all the time from way back to now where kids find like old landmines and hand grenades and they blow themselves up because there's just so much stuff in the woods in that town. But yeah, man, this guy literally was like a SS officer in hiding who just managed to evade all that manhunt shit that was going down after the Nuremberg trials, I think. Nuremberg, I think that's how it's pronounced. And yeah, I guess he just wasn't significant enough to be pursued and just kind of dipped, essentially, right? So yeah, my dad worked for a Nazi officer in hiding. And well, he made his money. So, I mean, he made his money and he didn't, I guess nothing happened, you know what I mean? So, but it's definitely one of the craziest things I've ever heard from my dad, for sure. Yeah, that's about it. Peace.